We're live.
We're live.
So it says.
It's
So
how
it's
about
a-
that there?
Yep. Scoot over if you want one. There we go.
Here we are.
Here we go. All right. So let's make sure we got some volume here.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening.
Exactly. Yeah, it says we got volume.
We have volume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we definitely have volume. And then, we can't forget.
Can't forget. Nope.
No, can't forget. We need our. Where's the intro, John?
Been a while.
It had to show up there, of course. Let's make sure this is still going. Yes, we're still going. We'll do this. And we need to make sure that we are. There. And we'll minimize that. Today?
Today? Yep. Today's today. Yesterday was tomorrow, which is today.
That's true. Welcome to Two Old Guys with Mike, and today's topic is the weather and things that may have happened to the situations of weather over the past few decades or century, and possible government involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an actual thing, or is it just conspiracy?
Well, there is something that the government is doing to cut the greenhouse gases over the poles. And it is on the internet. It is fact.
Okay. So
They're taking old C-135s and converting them to spray some, I think it's sulfur dioxide, but I can't remember. But they're going to be spraying it over the poles to seed the clouds to get rid of some of the greenhouse gas, or to reflect the sunlight away from the poles to make it colder, to cool down the earth.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if they started that yet, but that's what they plan to do.
Okay.
And
So this is different from cloud seeding.
it's different, but the same, if you would like to go that route, yes. But that's what they're planning to do.
Okay. Because, like back in
1800s? Cloud seeding?
Well, it wasn't 1800s that they started cloud seeding.
Well, that's when the snake oil guys started to try to do that, yes.
Well, right.
In the 40s, 50s.
Let me give you your crops are dying, or you haven't had rain in a while.
Boom, boom the drums and fire off cannons and stuff. Yes, that's what they tried.
Exactly.
Sometimes it worked and they got lots of money, and other times they ran the guy out on a rail.
That is very true.
But yes, they tried to do that.
They tried to do the cloud seeding more so. What was it?
During Vietnam.
Yeah, I was going to say Vietnam War, if not the Korean War.
Yeah.
Because it was, if we can create hurricanes or typhoons, it would basically, hopefully, just wipe out.
It would drown them out like rats.
Yeah, and
that's what their theory was.
Right. And if anything, they just created more rain. If it actually worked, they just didn't. They didn't create the let's drown them out theory with that.
It just made it worse for everybody because they couldn't move their vehicles. They just got stuck in mud.
True.
But that's what they tried to do. They tried to put dry ice in the clouds to make it work.
Yeah.
I want to say that the Russians tried to do that with quick set cement. And the only thing that happened after that is
clumps of fucking
yes,
cement falling out of the sky.
Yes, and it's on the internet if you'd like to go look for it. I can't remember where it was, but yes, one guy got nailed with a 50-pound chunk. It wasn't pretty, but yes, they did that.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It was actually. It was a human trafficker, I think it was, that got nailed in the head.
Well, okay, then
take it for what it's worth, folks. But yes,
they meant to do that.
But yeah, they put a squash on that real fast. They also had the HAARP radio, HAARP. I can't remember what that stands for, but that was
Oh,
one.
HAARP, yeah.
Yeah, it was for radio waves to change the weather patterns, and that was around one of the two big hurricanes down around the Gulf area. I can't remember which ones it was, but that's one of the ones that caused one of the big hurricanes down there that people were upset about. That was like early 2000s, I want to say.
What was that, Ike?
Ike or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, back then. So that's another reason why the weather is kind of messed up. That also goes towards the people are saying the climate change, industrial revolution, greenhouse gases,
Yeah, right.
dinosaur uh, fuel that's also causing it.
Right.
I'm sure people can have something to say about that.
Well, you got to figure though back in the as soon as the industrial revolution, everything went on. Oh, well, that's fine. Then eventually they realized that we're pumping out a bunch of crap into the air that's affecting our breathing and our climate and our and things like that. And then it's like, well, now it's too freaking late, you morons. To a degree, I mean, they're saying that it is too late, but if we do something now, it will delay it and maybe repair itself. Maybe 100 years after the fact.
Right.
But yeah, and what floors me is when you look up in the sky and you see the planes flying over and you see the white trails behind them, and really that's just jet trails or contrails or whatever I believe that's called.
Yep.
A lot of people think, oh no, they're putting chemtrails. It's a chemtrail. They're spraying chemicals into the atmosphere and whatever.
Yeah.
And every plane you see is not doing such things.
Nope.
The ones you see that may be doing that, you probably won't see it, especially if they're in the clouds, especially if it seems like there's some form of storm cloud that's there that they're trying to beef up, and you may see the trail coming out of the cloud.
Right.
But on the other hand, too, though, some of these planes are, God, probably 4 miles up, 2 miles up, 4 miles up ish, that you're seeing them. It's the clouds, it's the planes that are like maybe a mile or two up, because yes, you do get your larger clouds that extend higher into the atmosphere. But if they're going to seed something to try and start it, they're going to start at something that's closer to the ground.
Yep. And you won't see the seeding, as you call it. You won't see any trails from the planes because it would be in the cloud that they do it in. The stuff that you see way up is actually the vapor trail off the wings from the plane going through it. It's coming off the wingtips as it goes through. If you watch, there was an Indy race going on, and they were looking back at the back of the car, and you could see as the car was running through the air, you could see the chemtrail coming off of that, the vapor trail of the air.
Sorry, not chemtrail, vapor trail.
Vapor trail, sorry.
Yes.
The vapor trail coming off the wings of the Indy car. And the commentator even said, that's the same trail that you see up on the airplanes. It's not a chemtrail. It's the vapor trail coming off the wings. And that's the same thing that was happening on Indy car traveling about 208 miles an hour.
Right. Yeah.
So if you really believe that, you will not see it by the government doing it through the clouds.
No.
There was one thing back in the 40s, 50s that the government did this in San Francisco. It's on the internet. That they wanted to see how the bacteria transferred through the air in Los Angeles area. So they let loose some bacteria, and they wanted to see how the air carried it.
Okay.
They didn't tell the people there
Oh, of course not.
that they would get sick, but they let it through. They did it through the cloud, and then they watched and they kept track of how many people got sick and with what. The people in Los Angeles found out 20 years later that the government did this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how they do it. They will tell you what they're doing.
It's like any other government in this freaking world. They will do things and then they won't tell you. And then later on, you will find out about it because now it's either declassified or someone who knew somebody that, either that someone leaked it or somebody that was very sick or something happened. And they decided to just drill into it, going, look, this didn't happen until we saw X or we heard X going on. And now this happened. So is this a coincidence or is this something that's purposeful?
Yep.
And the question is it purposeful by nature or is it purposeful by man?
Mm-hmm.
And then, then they dig, talk to the right people and find out that, okay, now we have the ability to have enough information together to put it out in the public saying, look, this is what's going on. And it's up to the government at that point to either confirm or deny.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing too, though, not saying it's right for the government to do such things, is sometimes I do believe is the end goal, even though they really won't say it, is to contaminate air or certain things to, yes, to see what happens, but in the same token, to help people's immunity systems build up to certain things. So that way, if there is maybe for some stupid reason a chemical attack from another country with a certain item, that your chances of surviving it have increased by 5%.
Yeah, but
it's necessarily not going to help you 100%.
Yeah.
It's just something like, okay, they launched Ebola into the fucking air. Well, okay, because the government did their thing and people ended up with some symptoms of Ebola. Now their bodies are more apt to not get it, or at least as severe.
But they didn't. We're just saying
Right. This is all hypothetical. Yes.
But yes,
you're correct. It's all
yes. Back to the weather, though. If you haven't noticed, things are not going very well. Fires everywhere. It's
very dry.
Yeah, there's fire warnings out here in the United States and a lot of places.
Well, it's all on the west coast, which is pretty common, but it's been getting worse.
Yeah, rain everywhere, not a drop to drink.
Right. Yeah.
So that's.
And then the hurricanes are getting worse and more. So that's all part of climate change.
Yeah, they're getting bigger and stronger because of the currents.
Yeah, we'll look at the last few years, especially the one I just went through with Ian.
Yeah, the Florida area.
That and the big thing with that one is that it changed course in a fashion that they didn't expect.
Didn't expect it, yeah.
And it was just they're like, oh, crap.
Hit them real fast. They didn't really have that much time to get out.
Right. They're saying that well, they could have warned us sooner, blah blah blah. And it's like, you know what? They kind of did warning and maybe they did slack a little, but the thing is
it changed.
It changed its course, and that's nothing a weather person and or your emergency services can predict.
It's like predicting a tornado. You got like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes saying, okay, the tornado might be imminent. Okay, but where is it going to hit? Which direction is it going to go? How wide is it? How long is it going to be on the ground?
Yeah.
Is it going to come? Is it going to go up and come back down? Is it going to drop somewhere else? Yeah, no one can say it. Yeah, they can look at it and maybe go, well, this is going to happen. We predict. That's the word, predict. And that is a word it's an ambiguous word to say, look, we are certain, but we're not 100% certain.
Yes. That's why weathermen get paid the big bucks to
be
predict the weather.
Yes, to predict the weather.
I wish I could have a job like that so I could predict and still get paid to be wrong.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Wrong.
Wrong. That's right. To wrong.
To
be wrong.
Yes.
To be wrong. To be wrong. Now, what I liked is, was it Channel 12 around here? ABC, local ABC. And it was a few years ago. And it was a newer weather person that came in. And they were like, okay, we're going to start using this model. And it's been somewhat proven, or mostly proven, that this model is going to be more accurate, more correct.
Okay.
And so they started using it. And I'm going to say the weather predictions for local weather have been better. However, the funny part is, I think that person lasted a year.
Really?
Yeah, I think what it really, that or the person's working in the background and you never saw him before, never seen him again.
Okay.
Because I don't remember the guy's name, but he brought it up, and I can see other people.
How long ago was this?
Shit, probably like in the last 5 years.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't watch that news.
And
I try not to watch the news. It's too depressing.
Yeah, too many freaking political.
Yeah, I just watch the news for the weather and the finance, and that's about it.
Yeah, got people forcing their moralities on everybody else. Yes, there has to be some form of this and some form of that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that.
Right, but just freaking stop.
Weather and the finance is about it. That's as far as I want to go.
Yeah, then stop forcing your moralities. Anyway.
I have trouble with my own moralities.
Yeah, exactly. in morals.
Yeah.
But yeah, he like I said, he was doing that. He said this, and I could see and there was another weather person's face there, or person there, and their face was just
Oh crap.
like really,
Oh,
it's like I don't know if that person missed the meeting, or or it was just brought up, and this guy decided, you know what,
run with it.
screw it, yeah, I'm gonna just run with it and see what happens. Either, and then people were like, oh, and they started asking questions, and then it started making more sense. But like I said, I think the guy was there for maybe a year and then gone.
Wow. I wish I would have caught that.
I thought it was fascinating because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, so the people who have been there for years and everything else that are supposed to be the chief meteorologists for that are being shown up by someone that they just brought in.
It's just like everything new. Oh no, let's kill it because we know nothing about it. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's what happened, huh?
Yeah, I believe so. But then, like I said, because they had him on for a while, and he's like, okay, now with this new model, blah, 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 blah. And if you see the weather's doing this, and the old model, it kind of was like this. It was still the same thing, but it wasn't.
Computer models is what you're talking about.
I think, yeah, it's one of the computer models that that lay it out. I think that's what it was. It's starting the computer models that they started using. Versus, hey, look, we're getting the weather from here and information from here. We're going off of this data and then making our forecasts.
Right.
And he was making comparisons. Okay, well, the way we used to do it here, it's like this. Okay, so in the old model, we are, say colder weather to the west. Well, with the new model, actually, it's going to be a little warmer to the west, but colder to the east. And as the time went on, it actually became more that the new model, the computer model, was the more of the correct, accurate way. Not saying totally correct, but more accurate way.
But the storm went the way of the
way the new person went. Yeah, so this is the new model that we're using. And I think back to the people that have been there for a while. You son of a bitch, I'm gonna get you. Type shit.
Hey, you got to embrace the change. If you don't embrace the change, you have a tendency to be left behind.
True, very true.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, when something's new or something's unknown, everybody wants to squash the crap out of it.
They're scared of the newness, and it can't be. You got to be there.
You
at the cutting edge.
Right. And, even if you're not going to if you're not going to be with it on the cutting edge, you need to at least watch it.
Watch it, understand it. You don't have to be with it.
Yeah,
just understand it.
And watch it. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, what is going to help. But also, if you can incorporate that with the new, you might be that one step further ahead than the actual person that's doing the cutting edge.
Yeah, because now they got 4 different models, and they put all those predictions together and they come up with one solid model, and they're getting more and more accurate now as to what's going where.
Right. And then of course there's that fluke option within in nature itself, where it's like all of a sudden the winds change a bit. Now it throws it off.
Yeah,
but
nature
however,
just gives you that middle finger and says, no, I'm going over here. Ha ha ha.
Right. Yeah. It's still within the model, but it's on the outer edge of the model.
Yeah. Nature just has her own little thing saying, can't fool with Mother Nature.
That's right. You can't. Yeah, like the old commercials used to be. You can't fool with Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what are those commercials?
That was a butter commercial.
Yes. What happened to these commercials?
It's still around in different form, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to look, I don't know. Every so often it's like bring something up at work, and they're like, "That was what?" It's a commercial. And then, so I have to go look up a YouTube commercial and show it to people.
Yeah, it's showing our age.
Well, right. But there's also some people that are like maybe 10 years younger than us, and they're like, what? And I'm like, my God, you're 10 years younger. It's probably towards the tail end they stopped showing these things, but you can't tell me you didn't see it or know it.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
This freaking generation, sometimes they need a little slapping.
Yep.
A little light slam once in a while.
Yeah, well, that's it. But you got to be careful with the weather.
Yeah.
Listen to what they say, because the weather is not going to change for the good.
Yeah.
It's going to steadily continue on its path to get worse. Over the next 10, 20 years, it's slowly going to progress to get worse.
Right.
And there's nothing that we can do about it except be prepared.
Right. Be prepared. And then, it rolls back to global warming or climate change.
Climate change.
So
that way everybody everybody can understand that. Nobody understands global warming.
That's right. Global
Climate
warming,
change.
expect it to be warm. It's going to be cold.
Colder,
But as
yes,
far
colder.
as, everything else goes, it's actually, there's going to be warming. That's why we have temperature rises.
And it's going to get cold this winter.
Yeah, and then when
Snowy.
who deals with the cold weather, it's going to get colder because of that. And the water levels are going to rise and all this other stuff. And it'll be, granted, all this crap ain't going to happen. Things aren't going to really go to hell in a handbasket for probably at least a couple hundred years. But still, in the meantime, we're all witnessing slowly but surely
The beginnings of the change.
Yeah, beginnings of the change, and then it'll eventually be, well, how much of each continent is not going to be underwater?
Well, I heard some guy talking. He said if both of the poles melt, the oceans will rise enough to reach the bottom of Statue of Liberty's elbow. Yeah,
Okay.
let that soak in.
Okay, so that's let's see, the Statue of Liberty is what, about 400 feet high, so that's about 200 feet deep. Let's just say 100 feet deep.
Yeah, that's going to
100
swallow a
feet deep.
lot of places up on the coast.
So yeah,
Do
pretty
the
much
math, folks.
everything on the coast are going to
To
get,
the elbow.
are going to be underwater except for high areas.
Most of Florida's gone, folks.
Now,
Oh, New York.
yeah,
No, that's Ellis Island. It's New York.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
New
most of New York will be underwater.
Yeah, and that just work that out,
Yeah,
extrapolate from there all the way around the coast, around the world.
Right. Yeah. So how many other, and then other countries that all their low-lying areas.
But we won't see that. That's like 1,500, 2,000 years from now. But
Something like that. Yeah.
But within the next,
definitely not going to see
yeah,
that.
by 2050, we'll probably see another inch, maybe, rise in the water levels.
Yeah, something like that. Now, I do remember that we may have touched on this before, that down in the Gulf, that now this was back in the 80s, 1980s, that they noticed the weather pattern changed enough that where they were normally growing, I know Florida does oranges, there's other places that do oranges, whatever, but the temperature changed so much that they weren't able to grow anymore what they used to, because the temperature got higher and also it got drier. Not really, like desert dry, but it got drier.
Yeah.
And it was like all of a sudden in like during the 80s and like the early 90s, they're like, yeah, this area, Louisiana, Georgia, God, I can't think. Anyways, right along that area, where all of a sudden they noticed that there was a hook in temperatures in that area that jumped like by about 5 degrees. And they were just like, this is unheard of. And it's staying that way.
Wow.
If I remember correctly, it's staying that way. Not saying that, it's probably going up and down temperature wise, but the point is that this used to be kind of like, okay, it's hot down there and it's dry, but because of this, it became hotter.
Yep. Yeah.
And they were showing a graph. It's like, okay, it's like green, and all of a sudden it's kind of like brown.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Lake Tahoe went up about 1.5 feet because of the rainstorm that they had out there.
Oh, for water
Yeah.
wise?
Yeah.
Well, that good for Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
It's not good for for the Colorado River and
Nope.
Lake Mead.
But
It ain't helping that much.
that's a little bit of niceness.
Yeah, for out there, yeah, that's fine. Lake Powell's down, I think. But we're not over there. But it's always good to watch because some areas, as that happens, it could be a trend coming this way.
This way, exactly.
You got to remember, folks. It's like fashion. You'll have fashion in the West Coast, and you'll have fashion in the East Coast. And by the time we get it in the Midwest area, why do we call it the Midwest? It's not. But anyways, we're long and short of it. The middle of the country, the Midwest, it's already out of fashion. It's over there on whatever side it started on. And so the same thing with the weather. What's going on there will eventually get to us and affect us. Well, now, of course, it goes west to east.
Whatever happens on the West Coast comes over to us slowly, and then it heads out to the east, and they get nailed worse than we do on the East Coast.
Exactly, because sometimes it'll just do a wall, we'll get some of it, whatever, and then build back up, going over the mountains again.
Yep. Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
No, no, not at all. Yeah. And so, anyway, so we're pretty much done with that topic for today. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Um, we not sure exactly when the next time we'll be on, but look forward to it. Check if you have
Yes.
not checked out the how to repair your floor joists if they drop, especially if they're attached to a header.
Yep.
That's up on the site. Hopefully, we'll have more how-tos going on.
Yep.
So thank you for joining
Yep. Thank you for your
Yanni and
time.
Yosefa on Two Guys with Mics.
Have fun.
Have fun. Hey, wait a minute. What did I do there? Oh, I hate this. You'd think I would invest in a microphone. Or no, not a microphone, a mouse. Actually, there's one sitting right there. Freaking dumbass.